My name is Tara, I'm a chef at Twisted. I decided to make a giant 14-layer strawberries and cream cake. It's perfect for any special occasion. I hope you enjoy. Okay, maybe not any special occasion because this is an absolute beast of a cake, but definitely have a go at it. I'm starting by mixing my dry ingredients together. Of course, I spill flour everywhere. I'm gonna mix the eggs and the sugar together. I'm gonna beat them until the eggs and sugar are very pale, which will make the cake really, really nice, light, and fluffy. I'm using a gravy boat to pour the oil in because that's weird. Cool, so now I'm going to alternate the flour and the buttermilk while making this batter because if I add all the flour at once, the batter will be too thick and I'll overmix the flour. If I add all the buttermilk at once, it's going to make a wet batter. By alternating it, I prevent splitting and I make a very clean, smooth batter. I'm dividing the batter between 4 pans that I've lined with butter and parchment paper. And I'm going to spread them out evenly with an offset spatula so that each cake layer will be very flat. Cool, so these are going to go off to bake and then I'm going to let them cool for a while. I'm going to add gelatin to this icing, which I've rarely done before, but because it's a whipped cream icing, I need it to be really strong so that it holds this cake because 14 layers needs all it's got. I'm going to whip the cream, but not completely, because I want to be able to mix in the cream cheese evenly as well. I'm adding cream cheese, which is going to add a bit of a tang to the frosting, so it's not too sweet. Once the gelatin has melted and cooled, I'll add that completely and whip it until it's got really stiff peaks. Now this is perfect for frosting. Now for my favorite part, decorating the cake. I like to cut off all the edges of the cake so that I have an even layer for each one. And then I'm layering them with strawberry jam, fresh strawberries, and our delicious creamy whip. Because the strawberries are wet, I'm adding a bit more icing on top, which will help the next layer stick on properly. Now let's repeat this 4 more times. Get every layer as even as possible. So once it's all layered up, I'm going to start smoothing out all the edges with all the icing to make sure it's all filled in. And of course, our kitchen was super hot, so into the fridge it goes. Oh, I forgot the cake. So I found myself a bit of extra time while the cake is setting. So I've made some fun strawberry roses, and they're super simple to make. I just cut down the sides of the strawberry and fold out the edges, and boom, beautiful strawberry rose. All right, so my cake has set, and now I'm going to decorate it. And if you're anything like me, it's going to take you at least an hour to get straight edges. Don't be too much of a perfectionist like me if you can help yourself. I really like piping. I find it very soothing. So I've used a couple of different techniques here to line the borders. On top, it's a nice swirl, on the bottom, a nice shell. So relaxing. A couple roses. That'll add to the strawberry roses as well. And now let's decorate with those beautiful strawberry roses I made. I'm adding a bit of dehydrated strawberries around the edges just to give it a little bit more color. And now the finishing touches, just a few silver candy balls. Here it is, 14 layers of strawberries, cream, and cake. So nice to cut. Wow, look at those layers. So we're gonna start by making the churro batter dough. It's kind of a mix between the two, which is super simple to make. We're gonna start off with some milk, boiling hot water, butter, and granulated sugar. And this is just gonna get microwaved till it's really, really hot before we add it to our flour. We're gonna microwave it for about 2 minutes, so it's really piping hot. So now I'm gonna make the flour mixture, which is flour and baking powder, which is gonna help the churros rise a little bit and get a little bit of a bigger shape. So this recipe is actually inspired from a recent trip to Barcelona. There was a gentleman making these amazing churros on the street, and I stopped to ask him how he made them and obviously eat them. And he said simply, it's just hot water and flour. So incredibly amazed, I went home, figured it out, made a bunch of them, and guys, these are amazingly easy and so delicious. So it should be steaming hot, super hot. Pour this in. Because it's really hot, it's gonna swell the flour so that it doesn't become soupy and becomes more like a lumpy batter. Whoa! It's a good arm workout as well. So now that it's mixed, we're gonna let it sit to the side just for a couple of minutes to cool before we put it into our piping bag to pipe it into the oil. In the meantime, as you know, churros are traditionally just coated in cinnamon sugar, which is sugar and cinnamon. You just add them together, stir it up, and you've got the delicious crunchy coating. So now that the dough is cooled, I'm going to transfer it into a piping bag. So I've got a canvas piping bag here with a large star tip, and that's for the beautiful shape of churros, and the sturdiness of the bag will help a lot, because it is quite a stiff dough. So we're going to pipe this in hot oil, which has been heated to about 180 degrees. So let's start piping. Whoa. So my muscles being used today. Whew. Beautiful. Oh, they look great. So while these are frying, I'm just gonna hop over and make my chocolate sauce, which is also super easy to make. So a little bit of a trick, I like to use a serrated knife to chop my chocolate. I find that you get much finer shards of chocolate, and this is on our twisted board, so it's not even gonna slide around while I do it. It's great, super safe. And you wanna chop it super fine so that it melts really easily while it's in the microwave. So this recipe is actually one of many delicious recipes in the chocolate section of our cookbook, which you can find in the ingredient section in the back of the book. And it's actually probably one of my favorites because of how easy it is to make. So that took much less time than it would with a normal chef's knife. And you can see how fine it's actually chopped the chocolate. So I'm gonna add this to some double cream. And then we're gonna add in some golden syrup. And this is gonna add a little bit of gloss and a little bit of a, kind of like a caramelly chew into the chocolate. We're gonna put it in the microwave, again, for just about 2 minutes until it's all melted. Just gonna give it a stir to combine it all and just help that chocolate melt a little bit more. All right, so our chocolate sauce is ready, and so are our churros. Perfect timing. Just gonna set this aside. All right, so the churros are nice and golden brown. I'm actually super proud of myself. They look just like the ones from Barcelona. And we're gonna put them on a cooling rack just to drain off most of that oil before we toss them in the cinnamon sugar we made earlier. So as the oil drains off, we're just going to add that cinnamon sugar mix that we made earlier to a bigger bowl. And we're gonna toss the churros while they're hot into this mixture. So we'll just do a few at a time. Just toss them around. And as you can see, they're beautifully covered evenly with the cinnamon sugar, and that's because they're still pretty hot. And as you can see, guys, this recipe was super easy to make. Didn't take really any time at all. Perfect for a quick dinner party or a last-minute dessert. The recipe book is full of these recipes, so give it a go. I'm gonna taste one. They're so good.
Mm. So good. Mmm, that's delicious.
Hi guys, I'm Tara. Today we're going to be making a French dessert called a roquembouche, which roughly translates to something that crunches in your mouth. It's a tower of cream-filled profiteroles that are glued together with caramel. Sounds delicious, right? Let's make it. I'm going to start by making the pastry cream filling, also known as crème pâtissière. Whip the eggs and sugar until they're really light and airy, like so. We're then going to add some flour and cornstarch, which will help thicken and stabilize the pastry cream. Oop, flour everywhere as usual. And just keep mixing it until it's completely combined. Now pour your milk into a pot over medium heat, add your vanilla, and let the two come to a simmer. So I got this wet cloth, which is going to help me keep the bowl sturdy while I whisk. Shake. Now put your bowl into this ring mold and gradually add your heated milk into the egg mixture, just a little at a time. This helps to slowly bring up the temperature of the eggs without scrambling them. Then once the eggs and milk are combined, it's safe to put everything back in the pot over the heat to continue cooking. Bring it to a boil, which will make sure that you cook the starches and get rid of that chalkiness. Now let it cool. Alright, now let's make some choux pastry. I love this bit. It's amazing how just a few ingredients turn into these marvelous puffs. We're going to add all the butter and bring the milk and butter up to a simmer. Once it's all melted, add all the flour at once and mix vigorously to combine. Continue cooking until it reaches about 70 degrees and you get a skin on the bottom of the pan. All in! Yes, look at the skin. Now once it's in the mixer, we're going to mix it a little bit to cool it down. It should cool down about 10 degrees. Now you're good to start adding your eggs gradually. I did half and then another half. Then just keep mixing until the dough is completely smooth. You'll know the dough is done by dipping your finger in cold water and dragging it through the mix. It should form a peak on your finger and shouldn't collapse on itself. Pipe golf ball sized blobs, leaving some room for them to grow in between in the oven. So you're going to dip your finger in some water and just tap down gently to flatten. But just damp finger, not too wet. Now they're ready to bake. And here they are, fresh choux from the oven. Let's have a peek inside and check they're hollow. Poke a hole in the bottom of each one. This will allow any steam to escape, so they cool quickly, and it gives you a hole to pipe the filling in the bottom. We're going to make some whipped cream to lighten the pastry cream. Now we have crème diplomate. And finally, add some fresh lemon zest, which will help cut the richness and add a little zing to the filling. Okay, these are some pretty big choux to fill. We're going to fill them up one by one right to the brim and then take them away to chill until we're ready to build with them. Cool. Let's make the delicious glue that holds this all together, caramel. Add all the ingredients to a pot and let them come to a boil. Use a pastry brush dipped in water just around the edges of the pan to prevent any crystallization. Once it's a light golden brown, remove it from the heat immediately. Time to build our tower. This is my makeshift cone, a vase wrapped in parchment paper. Dip each profiterole in the caramel and then place it on the cone until you get to the top. Dip a fork in the remaining caramel and swirl it around the tower to make these golden silk threads. Just pull it gently to wrap around. And here it is, the roquembouche. Definitely one for the gram.
Oh yeah, huh? Yeah.
What do you do?
While making a mess.
You like those?
Delicious.
Oh my god, sharp.
Yeah, it's super sharp.
It's about a tad from now. Both of us.
Yum yum. I got it all over my face.
You got a bit in your beard.
I got it in my hair.
Well,
Really.
I remember that.
It's my second time making it.